it boils down to your mindset. I realized when I paid that $5,000 to learn how to flip, how much it gave me skills, but also knowledge to make more money. So I made $15,000 off that $5,000. And
Right.
I've always been a big risk taker. No one had to convince me to invest in myself, because when you're hiring a mentor, you're investing in yourself. You want to make sure you hire the right mentor, of course, but you're investing in yourself. And I spend a lot of money on mentorship, education, and it has always helped me become a more skilled and professional real estate investor, and also improve my network as well. So I highly, believe in hiring mentors.
Yeah. So this is the Millionaire Talk Show, also known as the Oglesby and Scott Show, also known as the Todd Capital Millionaire Podcast. We got a lot of names. We're doing a lot of things. Things are changing, but it's good to be back in the saddle because we haven't done one of these in a while ever since we went to Atlanta and filmed all those in-person podcasts, which are coming back. We'll be back in Atlanta on the 23rd of September to film maybe 4, maybe 6 more of these podcasts because the in-person experience takes to the next level. But Zoom is also a very quality way to get you guys some podcasts and some good content. You guys are definitely in for a treat. This young lady has done over 200 real estate transactions. She has over $1 million in equity in her rental portfolio. She recently moved from Dallas to Florida, so we're going to talk about that. And she just also is a Turo host, so we're going to be talking about that too, because I mean, that's kind of the hot thing right now. Maybe she has some tips and tricks for you guys to help you guys do Turo a little bit better or get started in Turo if you are on the sidelines. But we have none other than Ashley Black. She is on Instagram as, I want to say, Ashley Buys Houses.
Yes, Ashley buys houses.
Yeah, and you guys are in it for a treat. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
So can you tell people a little bit more about who you are and what you do?
Sure, yes. I'm Ashley Black. I am a single mother. I have one daughter, and I am in the real estate industry. So I wholesale, I fix and flip. I have a rental portfolio, and I also lend. So small loans, maybe about 50,000 and below, usually to my partners that I know that I built a relationship with. So it's not on a large spectrum, it's on a smaller spectrum. So if they may need money to finish a rehab, complete a rehab, do a sub two deal, it's usually like a second lien position. I've been in real estate full time for 4 years, and I started out working at a title company to gain information on the back end, which I feel is most important. Knowing different types of deals to close going in definitely has helped in me achieving a lot of my
Yeah.
goals because I target a lot of niche deals, people that are um, behind on taxes, may have liens, judgments, pre-foreclosures, airship affidavits. They didn't probate the will within a certain time frame. So I deal with a lot of niche
That's cool.
transactions.
That is cool. And it speaks to just knowing that there's no such thing as wasted experience. I'm curious, how long did you work in the title company?
So I worked at the title company for 2 years before I branched out on my own.
You,
And while at the title company, I built a network. I had a plan. So I built a network, and I actually wholesaled while I was at the title company a year after I was at the title
wow,
company.
200 deals, 200 closings in 2 years.
Yes.
Wow. So, what was life like growing up? We always ask people that question.
So life growing up really was good for me. I didn't have a hard life as a child. My life didn't become hard until I actually grew up and left the nest because I'm a teen parent. I was a teen mother. So I had a great childhood. Parents are both, they graduated, they have their master's degree, graduated from college. So, they're a median financial median range as far as financials. So I had it really good, but I didn't hit a lot of roadblocks until I graduated from high school.
And so you kind of had to get on the grind, it sounds like.
Yes, so I was pregnant. I got pregnant at 17. I had my daughter at 18, and I went to college before I had my daughter, and then I dropped out of college. So I didn't finish my degree, uh, my master's, bachelor's degree. I have an associate's, but I was unable to complete my bachelor's degree. So I left home, I left college and went back home. So I went to Grambling State University. And
Nice.
then I dropped out of college, came back home, raised my daughter, and I kind of was on my own. So it was real bit of a struggle, but I made it. I made it.
All right, cool. So where are we in your story? When did you start to kind of pick up some traction and start seeing some success?
So I started picking up traction, I would say a year in at the title company. Once I started working at the title company, I did a lot of driving for dollars in in the area, in the neighborhood. So I was in a very low income neighborhood. So on my breaks, on my lunches, I would drive for dollars. I would jot down a lot of addresses, both breaks and lunches, and I would actually call those homeowners and see if they were interested in selling their houses. So I really target houses that may be dilapidated, there's high grass, some idea that they may be interested in selling their property. So I made about $40,000 after a year of working at the title company. And once I made the $40,000, then I had a goal. I had a plan. So I hired a mentor to teach me how to flip houses. I paid $5,000 to learn how to flip houses. So the wholesale was my nest egg that helped me get to a higher spectrum and helped me gain a lot of skills, more skills. And so a year later, after working at the title company, hiring a mentor and having a nest egg in my bank of safety, nest egg in my bank account, then I left that title company, but I still closed at that title company because I left on good terms. And I actually still close to that title company with that title company now.
That's cool.
So I maintained a really, really good relationship.
So you're wholesaling in the beginning,
Yes.
and
And
you're
then I
just
started flipping.
and then you started flipping. What's the difference in profit from a wholesale? How much are you making on your wholesale deals, and how much are you making on your flips?
So starting out, I wasn't making a lot. Of course, once you gain your skills, and you perfect your skills, your spreads get better, right? You're working on your craft every day because you're full time. So your spreads get better. So back then, my spreads were maybe like 5,000, 7,000. Now my spreads are 10,000 at the minimum is what I shoot for. The highest transaction on my spreads has been 30,000, but at the same time, I buy and hold as well. So if I were to sell those properties, it could, like the deal I just closed a couple days ago, it could have been over $100,000 spread on my wholesale deal. But I decided to keep the property because I'm actually going to move in a property since I just moved. So it was a six-figure wholesale deal. Could have been a
Wow.
six-figure wholesale deal, but I have over $200,000 in equity.
Wow. I like that. It sounds like you're still getting your deals by going direct to the seller.
Yes. So I mainly get most of my deals direct to the seller, but I still buy from wholesalers as well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just direct to the seller, the spreads are just way bigger. So I actually market, I I have a team of employees that cold call. I have an acquisitions manager. I have a marketing manager. So I have a whole team that actually markets to different homeowners, and I also buy from other wholesalers as well.
Yeah. Why is it that going direct to seller gives you a bigger spread?
It gives you a bigger spread because you're not factoring in the wholesaler's assignment fee.
Yeah.
Because if they get like that deal that I got, if they get a hot deal like that, they're going to factor in their spread. They're still going to sell it to you at the formula. Most of the wholesalers are still going to sell the property to you for the going formula, which could be 70 to 80% of ARV minus repairs, minus their assignment fee. And that's typically what they're going to sell the property to you for. Going direct to the seller, you have all of that spread. So
Mm-hmm.
you have much more equity. Now you do have more, you have costs for marketing dollars, but the deal that I got a couple days ago, I didn't spend any marketing dollars. It was high grass. I noticed that there may be it was a distressed house, and I knocked on the door. So it was something as simple as that. So,
Wow.
but it's also consists of facing your fears as well, because some people are fearful of knocking on the door, but that will lose your chance of going direct to the seller and a potential
Mm-hmm.
deal. That's in your backyard, because it was in my backyard. So yeah.
So you mostly just do real estate right where you are in your general area. I think that makes a
So
lot of
I
sense.
actually market in Dallas, Houston, and Florida. So I'm in three markets right now. Well, yeah, three markets right now: Dallas, Houston, and Florida. So I have a virtual team. So I'm all virtual. So I work from home. I had an office a few years ago, but I let the office go, and everybody is working from home and they're virtual. And I actually still work on my business, but I work in my business for a few hours as well a day, just because
Yeah.
I like it. I'm really good at acquisitions, so I actually still do some of my acquisitions.
So what does a conversation sound like? I'm Joe, the homeowner. I got big grass. What are you saying when you knock on my door or call me?
So I approach the seller differently. I start off with rapport, excuse me. I start off with rapport. So I don't knock on the door and say, "Hey, I noticed that you have high grass." I just say, "Hey, my name is Ashley. Hey, how's everything going?" Everything's going good, good. Okay, all right. Well, I'm in the area. I buy a few houses that I'm looking to add to my rental portfolio, and I was just stopping by to see if you may know someone that may be interested in selling. And most of the houses that I don't door knock for, as my main marketing source, but if it happens to be a really hot deal and it's distressed and I'm in the area, I will. So I'll definitely, it's targeted. It basically, to say, if I knock on that door, then it's a targeted lead. And
Meaning you've
I
already
start
done the
off by
research on it.
I've
You've already
already
like
done the
looked it
market
up.
research. I already pulled up the property in PropStream, because I use PropStream, and I also use the MLS. Since I have access to the MLS, I'll see if there's any liens, judgments, of course, title work experience, liens, judgments against the property, the owner, both people, right? Child support liens, abstract of judgments, and if it's a good, and equity as well. And as long as it fits my criteria, my buying criteria, then I would knock on that door if it's within reason of my area, if it's within the same vicinity of me.
I like that you didn't say, "Are you interested in selling your house? Do you know anybody who's interested in selling their house?"
I like how you caught that.
Yeah,
I specifically asked them if they know. It's targeted, right? But I asked them if they know. Yeah.
because they might get kind of offended. Like, no, I'm not trying to sell my house. But they'd be like, you
Yes.
know what? Maybe I consider it. Like, I don't know. You didn't really push me. So,
Yes, and also to piggyback off of that, I also say, is there anything I can help you with? I come in offering different options. Is there anything I can help you with? Provide you with all your options, because I provide them with all their options up front. I don't just come off
mhm.
the gate and say, "Hey, I want to buy your house." Let's look at your options and see what's best for you. Have you tried to list it? Do you want to list it on the MLS? No, I don't want to list it on the MLS. I don't want my neighbors to know I'm selling my house. I don't want them to know I'm going through pre-foreclosure.
Mm.
I don't want people coming in and out of my house. Okay, all right. Well, why not rent it out? I'm not looking to rent the house. Oh, okay, all right. So, what is your main goal? What would you like? What solution would you like to come from this? I want to sell. I want to sell right now, and
They
then
want
I go over.
cash.
Yeah, then I move forward. Yeah,
I like it.
with closing the deal.
All right. So, in terms of the actual offer, how do you determine what to offer? Because you might be able to get a better deal if you lowball them. Like, how do you determine what you want to give them on that number?
So I feed off of the seller's energy a whole lot. So I ask them if they know how much the property is worth. Do you have an idea what you think the property may be worth? I start off with that question. No, I
Hmm.
have no idea. I'm not sure. How much do you need to move?
Hmm.
How much do you need to move? Maybe $10,000. Okay, all right. So if I give you $10,000, would this be something that you would be ready to move forward with today? And they'll say yes or no. And if that $10,000 fits my criteria, I won't give a nominal figure on the total price, but I'll say, hey, if I give you $10,000, you net $10,000. Would that be something that you're interested in? Can you see yourself moving forward with that? And
Hmm.
then they may say, yeah, yeah, $10,000. Mind you, they gave me their number. So I'm
Hmm.
structuring the deal off of their needs.
Hmm.
If it doesn't fit my
Hmm.
criteria, then I start off negotiating from there. But I typically don't ever give my number up front.
Yeah.
I see what they need.
It's kind of like whoever gives their number first loses. It's like if
Yes,
you go out there like, oh, I'll give you 80 grand for this house, they probably might have only wanted like 50.
exactly. Also, if you ask them how much money they need to move, and some people don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know how much moving costs would be. Then I just start throwing numbers out there. You- Maybe 5,000, maybe 10,000, maybe 15,000. Um, yeah, maybe about 15,000. And then we go from there. We structure the deal according to their needs.
So you look at their needs and then you go back and look at how much they owe on the property.
Well, for are you speaking in terms of the targeted leads? In regards to the targeted leads, I already know what the structure is. Now, if before I call them, I'm analyzing the deal before I even call them. So I already know exactly how much spread I can have, and I have an idea before I even call them what my maximum offer is, my
Yeah.
maximum allowable offer, the most I can offer them, and my bottom dollar. So I already have my numbers in head before I speak with them.
How do you find out that number? How do you find out how much they owe? How do you find out like what that spread could potentially be? Because sometimes you'll just see like the actual loan. You won't see what they paid it down to.
Correct. That's a really good question. So, what I do is I go on PropStream, and PropStream typically has an idea of what their mortgage is. It's a really, really good tool because you can go on PropStream, you can pull the property up, you can go under mortgage information, and it tells you the estimated balance, right?
Mm,
But you're right. You don't know exactly how much that is because if they're in pre-foreclosure and it's already been submitted to attorney, then there's prepaid, interest that's on top of that. There's also attorney fees. There's just so many fees. So you actually won't know until you get that title work, but
mm,
that's why you start low. Your offer is low, but if it's enough equity in it, then you can structure your deal and
mm,
go up a little more at the closing table. You can increase your
really?
offer a little bit more at the closing table as long as it doesn't break the deal, right? As long as it's not a deal breaker.
That's interesting because I always thought you had to know it for sure before you could even submit the offer, but you're saying you can't really know. You can only kind of guess. And then based off of that number, I mean, maybe you could ask them for their last mortgage statement or something like that. But
Yeah, you can ask them for their last mortgage statement. It just kind of depends. I kind of work backwards. My main thing I want to do is because if you ask them for their last mortgage statement, sometimes they don't have it. She did not have it. If they can have it before your appointment, then yes. But if you're on the spot and you're trying to lock that deal up right now, you lock the deal up and you restructure it later if it doesn't fit according to your buying criteria because the main goal is to get the property under contract. Then you can do your due diligence on exactly how much they owe later, but the main goal
mm,
is to get this contract signed.
mm,
Initially, if it's a phone call and you're going on the appointment, then I would say, hey, if you could just have your most recent bank statement, your mortgage statement available, so uh, that our meeting can go through seamless. It can be a seamless meeting. And so they'll have all their information. I'll have all my documents. I'll have my authorization to release information so that I can speak to the mortgage company and actually get the payoff before it gets to the title company because the title company moves in pre-foreclosures, you have to move really, really fast. So I have all my documents prepared up front. Even if I'm door knocking, it's in the car, it's in the folder, it's ready to go. So I don't have to have any delays in the process.
um, the contract that you're using is this is like this? Is it like a in California they call it a car form in California Association of Realtors form, like a purchase and sale agreement? What kind of a document are you using to lock that property up?
So I use a two-page agreement just because it's universal. I can use it in any state and it's
Mm,
standard in any state. So I don't use in Texas, we use the Texas, the trick contract. And it's like 9, 10 pages long.
yeah,
It can be very intimidating when a seller
right.
is looking. If they're the analytical seller, they want to know all the verbiage on that contract means.
Hmm.
So we've prepared a contract that is very standard, that's 2 pages. It's condensed, it's
Yeah.
very condensed and it's easy to read. So we go through that and we haven't had any issues. I typically give the contract to the seller and it's so easy to read. I let them review it. Hey, here's the contract, you can agreement. I say agreement. Here's the agreement. You can review it. If you have any questions, let me know. Then I'll be prepared to answer any questions that they have versus just going through all of the information on the contract. I give them their space and let them review it.
Why agreement and not contract?
Because contract it's like tomato tomato, right? But it's like contract, it scares them sometimes when you use the word contract. It's
Yeah,
completely the same, but
yeah,
just saying agreement, just it blocks that hesitation from you get from them signing that contract.
yeah.
And it's just
And
that word that will probably get you more contracts signed.
yeah, I know usually if you buy something through a wholesaler, they make you put up earnest money. When you're buying it direct to the seller, any earnest money involved, there's just documents.
Yeah, when your earnest money can be anywhere from 3,000 to 5,000 when you are buying from a wholesaler, and it's non-refundable. So you don't have all the time to do your due diligence. You basically have to be a skilled investor. Typically, when you're buying from a wholesaler, you have to know your numbers. You have to be familiar with the market because if someone else is skilled and they're familiar with their market and they produce, all the documents, the contract, the earnest money, they're getting that deal first. The
Hmm.
slow feet doesn't eat. I like that slogan. But yeah, so wholesalers is usually going to go with whoever can put up the earnest money first. When you're direct with the seller, you can put up as little as $1, $10, $100, $1,000, according to whatever you want to do, as long as you put up something in earnest money, because it has to be binding. If you don't put up any earnest money, it won't be a binding
Mm.
contract.
Has to be consideration there. Right, right, right.
Correct.
All right. So for those who don't know, contract law says there has to be an offer and acceptance and consideration. And so the money is the consideration. The offer is you saying, hey, I want to buy your house for this much, them accepting that offer, you guys signing it on the paper. Consideration is that earnest money. Um, so the cool thing about going direct to sellers, you can get kind of creative. Have you done anything like that? Have you put together any maybe seller finance deals, subject to deals, anything cool like that?
I have not. Typically, most of the deals I get have a lot of equity. And when they have a lot of equity, most of them are free and clear, or they have a very low mortgage balance. But also, if they have a mortgage balance and say it's a pre foreclosure list, they may be so far behind that it probably just doesn't make sense. Like, I probably would have had to put up 50 grand to purchase this property because she owed everyone. She owed HOA fees. She owed the mortgage company. She owed in Florida. I'm just realizing in Florida, they also collect utilities. So if she's behind on any utilities, they're pulling that on the title work and you have to pay it before you can close and get clear title. So she had a lot. She had a lot of fees. So when you're doing a subject to deal, you have to take care of all of those fees in addition to advancing the seller whatever money they want to walk away with, the $10,000 plus all the closing costs. So it can work, but I just haven't had to come across those type of deals because they have just so much equity in them.
What would you say was your favorite wholesale deal?
My favorite wholesale deal it was a transaction where the owner just wanted to completely walk away. I think there was some type of illegal issues with drug dealing, and someone kicked his door in and he was fearful of his life. So I was able to come in, help him. He was so happy, so grateful. And that was maybe like a 30K spread, but it just happened like so fast. He didn't have any question, and he walked away with a lot of money too.
Mm.
Um, but that would be my best one because it was no convincing. There was not many objections. It was just like, hey, yes, call, hey, Ashley, yes, I want to sell my house. It's at 123 Main Street. Someone kicked my door in. I'm moving. I'm getting out of Texas. Can you come? So yeah, it was that type. That was my favorite one.
What's a mistake that you made wholesaling, and what did you learn from it?
Not protecting my interest on a transaction. And protecting your interests on all deals consists of filing like a memorandum. So if you do so many deals, there's gonna be times to where the day of closing, the day before closing, the seller decides that they don't want to move forward with the property anymore, right? So you have a lot of anxiety, you're ready to close, you're planning on closing, planning on paying your acquisitions or whoever, and they just drop the ball. Hey, I don't want to close anymore. I want to sell to this person for $10,000, $20,000 more. And I didn't protect my interest on one of those deals, and it cost me that whole deal.
Mm.
It cost me, about $20,000 in wholesale fee, assignment fee. So that was a hard lesson that I had to learn. So now, most of my transactions, I file a memorandum.
Mm. You file a memorandum and you record it against the property.
Yes, so the title company will either do it for me, or I'll go to the records, building to have it recorded. But most of the time, I already have the document prepared. When I send the contract, I send the memorandum, but I wait till title work is actually clear because you don't want to just go file a memorandum on properties that can't even be closed anyway.
Mm.
So I wait till the title is clear and everything is good to go. uh, I have my buyer in place, or I have my financing in place, or cash in place, and I know that I can actually close on this property, and it's no hiccups and nothing preventing me from closing. Then I'll have that title company. I'll give them the green light on filing a memorandum and have it recorded.
Have you ever had a situation where you got it under contract, you filed your memorandum, and then they tried to walk out, and you're like, "Nah, you can't walk out." Like, have you ever had to use that against somebody now that you know it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it helps you sleep at night. You don't have to wake
Yeah.
up and wonder, oh, is someone going to go behind my back? And because when you blast to some of your buyers, some of those buyers are like really shady. They will go behind you, go direct to the seller, and try to offer them more money, and
Oh.
tell the seller that you're wholesaling the property to them and they're the actual buyer.
Mm.
So yeah, so now I file my memorandums and I just sleep at night. I know I'm going to get paid. It's a matter of when.
Yeah. You got to cut those snakes off too.
Yeah.
So, how long were you wholesaling before you started flipping?
So it was about a
Okay.
year of wholesaling. I built up that $40,000, and I was comfortable with investing and flipping. And now I kind of do all strategies, all
Right.
forms. Yeah.
What did your first flip look like?
My first,
I lost you on the audio. I think it might be my headphones.
can you hear me?
Yep, you're back now.
Okay, my first flip was a flip that I did. Well, the first flip was with my mentor, right? So
Smart.
he basically did most of the work, and I learned from him. So I
Yeah.
hired the mentor to learn how to flip before I actually branched out on my own to flip. And I was working in that house every day. I was doing the demo work. I was involved with hiring some of the contractors, questioning, interviewing the contractors before they go in your house, because some of these contractors don't know, they just want to get the job, but they're not actually skilled to get the job. So I learned a lot hiring a mentor and learning how to flip that house. And that actually was my first flip. And that one I made like maybe like 10, 15K, but it wasn't a matter of how much I made on that one. It was more so the knowledge that I gained from it. And after that one, then I ventured out and did my own flip.
So this mentor, is that the same person you took the course from?
So I hired a lot of mentors throughout my tenure of real estate. So no, the first mentor was to learn how to flip, and then my second mentor was to learn how to wholesale on a larger scale and actually run it as a business versus just doing a deal here, doing a deal there, which is okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But I am full time, so I actually needed to provide for my family and actually have investments and be secure in my investments and actually build a portfolio that I can pass down to my daughter. So I wanted to be, serious. So
Yeah.
I hired another mentor for that.
Some of the most successful people that I know in this space in wholesaling and flipping have done what you've done. Um, because when you're outlining your whole strategy, you're like, I have this person, this person, this person. It reminded me a lot of Marquise Robinson. I don't know if you know him, Wealth Forever. He is crushing it in wholesaling. And he was like, yeah, I paid like 10 grand to this dude to do blah, blah, blah. And a lot of people are like, I'm not paying somebody $10,000 to spend to teach me. But how much have you made off of that $5,000, $10,000 investment? Probably.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That is the key. And you know what it boils down to? It boils down to your mindset. I realized when I paid that $5,000 to learn how to flip, how much it gave me skills, but also knowledge to make more money. So I made $15,000 off that $5,000. And
Right.
I've always been a big risk taker. No one had to convince me to invest in myself because when you're hiring a mentor, you're investing in yourself. You want to make sure you hire the right mentor, of course, but you're investing in yourself. And I spend a lot of money on mentorship, education, and it has always helped me become a more skilled and professional real estate investor, and also improve my network as well. So I highly, believe in hiring mentors.
Yeah. Um, One of the things I was scrolling your Instagram and you were talking about when you're doing a flip, the inventory list. Now, what confuses me is since I don't really know too much about like the actual like rehab process, I just know the numbers. There's things I'll see on like a Home Depot Pro thing that I never even knew existed. I was like, I didn't know they knew that needed that. How did you get to the point to where you knew everything that should be on that inventory list?
So I learned that working with my mentor when we did our first flip. He actually would do prepare a scope of work, and the scope of work would consist of everything that needed to be done on the job. And once we created that scope of work, then we worked and broke it down into different sectors to see what inventory we needed in order to accomplish that goal. So I actually have now a few contractors that been has been working for me with me for a while, and I actually have a pro rewards account like you mentioned at Home Depot, so they now actually go and purchase the inventory for me. But I know exactly how much is needed per square foot. I know how many gallons is needed to spray a house. If you try to go and purchase, you get those big buckets of paint that's like 5 gallons, a 5 gallon paint bucket. If you go get 20 gallons for a 1,300 square foot house, then I know you are either running off with my inventory or you're just not as knowledgeable.
Mm,
And you definitely want to know how much inventory it takes to prepare to finish a house out, because you can be overpaying in materials and that can cost you, and you can be over budget, and you could possibly lose money on the flip if you spend too much money on inventory.
yeah. So basically, the answer is hire a mentor.
Yeah, hire a
The
mentor.
so when you did that deal where you made 15 grand, he made money off the split as well. Did you pay him a fee to even enter that project, or he just said, "I'll get my money on the back end"?
So the mentor, I paid a fee up front, and then I took on the risk. So
Mm,
it wasn't a partnership. It was a partnership, and it was a support partnership.
mm,
So I already knew how to analyze the deal because I wholesale prior to going into flip. So I already knew it was a deal. And so I just didn't know the back end of what to look for, what the big ticket items are to look for in a house when you're going in a house, and how to budget accordingly. And so that mentor taught me how to do that, but I took on all the risk. So if I lost money on that flip, then it was on me, but he gave
mm.
me the skills and the knowledge.
Do you still work with him today, or was it kind of just like a one and done thing?
was just a one and done thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So now it's just me. So all the houses I flip, I acquired all the skills and learned. And now from that, what I did was I started having my contractors break down things to me. So when he partnered with me and I learned how to flip on that deal, then I did my own deal. So I did my own flip, analyzed the deal, structured the deal. I hired my own contractors. I hired my own contractors by going to different jobs, driving in the neighborhood. If a house looked pretty and looked nice and a contractor was working on it, I would stop by that house, get their information, and have them come do a walkthrough on my house and give me a bid and get multiple bids. And if they were a really good contractor, I would have them explain things to me so that I can understand. So I'm
Mhm.
paying them to work on my house, but I'm also in the house gaining knowledge.
Yeah.
And that helps me to know what to look for in the next house that I buy and flip.
When you're hiring a contractor, what are things that you require from them before you actually hire them officially? Like licenses, corporate paperwork. What are you looking for?
So it depends on the different on the type of contractor, because in Texas there's some trades that a license is not required. Plumbing, of course, they have to have a license. So I look for a license, and mainly I am usually getting referrals sometimes as well. If I'm not driving in the area, I'll go off of referrals and driving and pulling up on different contractors. But I ask questions. So I look to see if they're skilled. So if they tell me that they're going, if I'm looking for towel, for example, it depends on the trade. So if I'm looking for a towel guy, and the towel guy comes and he does a walkthrough, I'll just ask questions. And the questions I'll ask is, okay, so what type of tool will you use to perform this job? I know from my experience that if you're doing tile, you need a wet tile saw. Some people don't use a wet tile saw. They'll use a different type of tool. So I will ask questions about how they're going to perform the task. If they're painting, I ask them if they use tape, how they prep before they paint, if they use a sprayer, if they use a roller. I kind of interview them. It's an
Mm,
interview.
mm,
And if they meet the criteria, because depending on how they perform the job, depends on how the quality is. If they don't take the time to prep before they paint, the 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 paint is not going to really look that well.
yeah,
So you definitely want to interview your contractors before hiring them.
I like that. I like that. What was your most successful flip?
My most successful flip was the flip I did when I branched out on my own. That flip I made 50K, like I said, 50K net. And after that, I really didn't flip a lot. I did a lot of flips, but it wasn't a whole lot. It maybe was 4 or 5 flips a year. I started adding to my portfolio, and I started wholesaling a lot of properties. And, then I paid myself, of course, as well. So that's kind of where I was at that time. I
Yeah,
had to I had to invest a lot of money in building my team. So
flipping is more capital intensive than wholesaling is.
yes, yes,
And you can
it
still
is.
make good money flipping. You might not make as much, but you can do more deals because you don't have capital tied up in this one house that's taking you 6 months. You could have been done 8 deals by then, if not more. It
Yeah,
makes
yeah, that is very true. But the longest flip for me, I work fast. I am very impatient. It's a gift and a curse. So whenever I go into a property, before I close, I set up all my trades so that they'll be ready to go in. I get my bids before I even close on the house. So they'll be ready to go in the house and actually like punch it out. So I typically shoot for 2 weeks on a flip, because
wow.
unless it's a really, really, really big flip, which I don't do really big flips. I did this one big, um, I had one deal. It was a buy and hold though, and I broke everything down to the studs, and that took like almost 2 months to
Mhm.
complete. But I got it at a really, really good deal. But most of my flips, I'm in and out. I would say 2 months, because once you get the property contracted from the buyer, it takes 30 days to typically close, and I usually take 2 weeks, no more than 4 weeks. But you're
Wow.
right. With the wholesale deals, you're gonna make less, but if you have a lot of volume, you could surpass the person who's waiting to close their flip.
Right, right.
Yeah,
So you GC your own deals
yeah,
and you
yes,
got the knowledge to GC it from the flip dude.
yes.
That is so smart because if you think about it, the GC fee alone is going to cost what you paid that dude.
Sometimes they make more money than you once you flip the property and you look at your net. You always want to do your books on on your houses and see what exactly you're spending money on. A lot of the times the GCs make more money than you make on the flip net.
Yeah, they know how much those
So
homes are worth.
yeah.
They said,
And sometimes they'll ask you, "Oh, how much did you get this house for?"
hmm
They pay attention to what type of car you're driving in, how many houses you have. They question if you're an investor versus a homeowner. So yeah, they'll try to nickel and dime you.
contractors are the worst.
Yeah, yeah, I have had my share of contractors. Yeah, they'll nickel and dime you. Like if you make changes. Of course, you want to have minimum. That's why you want to interview them. Okay, if I change this, if I say I want to paint two-tone, but I change it. If I say I want to paint one tone, but I change it to two-tone, are you gonna hit me across the head with that change, or are you gonna add a small fee if I keep you busy? So that's important as well.
hmm So Turo, you've been in Turo for how long?
So Turo, I've been in for it hasn't been that long. It's been maybe about 6 months. I've been in Turo. So I got in Turo during the peak time, and now it is the slow season right now,
Mm,
um, across the
it is
board.
slow, yeah.
Yeah, it's the slow. It's the slow. A lot of people are not talking about it, but it's the slow season for Turo, just like any season right now. So yeah, Turo is also the rental car cash flow is what I call it.
hmm
So you can make money cash flowing and driving exotic cars, economy cars. It just depends on how you want to structure it. But yeah, I like Turo as well. I have a few cars on Turo, and now eh, Turo, you definitely want to analyze your market because moving from Texas and moving to Florida, it's been a change
Yeah, I'm
in the
sure.
bookings. It's way slower here in Florida than it was in Dallas,
You might have to move those to Miami or something where it's lit.
unless you're in Miami. Yeah.
It's interesting because I was looking at your profile and I saw you had a Tesla and I have a Tesla. And then I saw you put like this thing that said like how you can get a Tesla for free. And so I watched it and I was like, that's how I got my Tesla for free. So
Really?
can you break it down to the peeps?
Yes. So, okay. So Turo, you're gonna to drive your car for free if you don't want to actually list the car on the platform. You just want to drive a car for free. What you'll do is you'll go get financing. Once you get that financing, you'll pick your car out. It can be economy cars. I kind of like economy cars because the spreads are better on economy cars. And once you pick your economy car out, you'll list it on Turo. Once you list the car on Turo, the cash flow that you make. Cash flow, of course, is after the note has been paid, after insurance has been paid. So you use that cash flow to pay your car note for the car that's your daily driver. That's
Mm-hmm.
your luxury car. So you don't have to list that car that you drive, that's your luxury car on Turo in order to drive it for free. Your cars that are listed that are economy cars can pay for that car.
Yeah.
And that is how I drive my car for free. Yes.
How do you get multiple car loans?
So, in order to get multiple car loans, you have to apply for financing within a 30-day window before those inquiries hit your credit and before that loan, not the inquiries, excuse me, before the actual loan hits your credit.
Mm-hmm.
So, you can go within a 30-day window to apply to Bank of America, Navy Federal Credit Union, any other credit union, neighborhood credit union. And once you get that financing secured, then you don't have to worry about it hitting. Once it hits your credit, then they're going to look and see that they're going to check your debt to income. So your debt to income is going to play a factor in you determining if you can get that loan. So as long as you shop within a 30-day window for multiple cars, you'll be successful.
And even though you've had success with Turo and you're paying your car with Turo, you still think that rental properties are better than rental cars.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I think it depends
It
on the
it
market.
I mean, in my opinion, I'm always going to say in my opinion, regardless of what market you're in my opinion, I feel like it's definitely better because of the appreciation.
Yeah,
The house is just it's insane how the houses appreciate.
true.
And even if you're cash flowing more on Turo, it's not going to equate to the appreciation that the house is going to
Hmm.
make over time.
Yeah, that's true.
That's just my opinion.
That's true. Honestly, I always tell people like, because we own a pretty decent portfolio in Detroit, and everything that we've owned is like 5 times what we paid for it now.
It's
And so
crazy, right?
even if tenants be wilding out, saying crazy stuff, saying they're not paying because of the pandemic, we still getting that appreciation. I told a tenant that too. I was like, I don't need your rent. You got appreciation, girl. Go on
And
with that.
that's all with mindset, right? You have the mindset to know that even if I'm losing money in rent right now, I'm still making money because it's still
Hmm.
appreciating whether you're going to pay or not.
Right.
So yeah. And I had a bad tenant. Like I say, there's ups and downs with any business that you're going to be in. And with the rental houses, I know so many people are against rental houses, but I am pro. I'm pro rental houses, pro building your rental portfolio up. I always think that we should be adding to our rental portfolio because we can eventually pass that down and
Mhm.
pass it to our kids, and it's running itself really.
Are you managing your properties yourself, or do you have third party management?
I was managing the properties myself, but now I just delegated it to a property manager because all of my houses are in Dallas now, with the
Mm,
exception of this one I just bought. So my rental portfolio is in Dallas. So I just hired a property manager to manage those properties for me.
got it.
And
And
I had to increase the rents too. So
uh,
to come.
before we get to the last few questions, I'm curious. A lot of people are moving to Dallas, and you moved out of Dallas. Why?
So I am a Dallas, Texas native. So I just wanted something different.
Mhm.
I wanted to change. I've always wanted to move to Florida. It's the sunshine state. It's beautiful here. The weather is nice here. And I was just ready for a change. I was
Yeah.
already marketing in Florida before I moved here with my business. So it was a no-brainer for me. So my daughter just entered the ninth grade. So it was either when she starts high school or after high school. So I was like,
Yeah.
let's go ahead and do it.
I think the cool thing is since you have your own business and it's virtual, you can live wherever you want to live. Like you don't have to live in Dallas if you don't want to. A lot of people they're like, "Well, I'll move if I could get a job," and they're stuck just staying where they have to stay because they have no choice.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's the power of owning a virtual business is that you can literally live anywhere you want,
Hmm.
and the business virtual business and a good team. If you own properties in multiple states, have some good boots on the ground, have a good team that you can trust and rely on. And if you don't own rental properties and you have a virtual business, it's still beneficial for you.
Yeah. Oh, um. So you're technically a millionaire, right? You have $1 million in equity. How many doors does that span across?
So that spans across 9 doors, right? So I don't have a
Wow,
whole lot of doors, but I have a whole lot of equity per door.
I like
So
that.
it's just, some people say, how many doors do you have? I really, I mean, I only care about how much equity I have, honestly, just in my opinion. So yeah, it's over 1 million in equity.
That's a bar because there's a lot of folks out there with a very minority stake and a whole lot of doors talking about all the doors they own when they should be talking about how much equity they got.
Exactly.
That's dope. Um, what is one Turo gem that you would leave the peeps before we head into the final few questions?
One very important Turo gem is going to be do your market research before you buy the car. I mean, if it's a car that you like, I wouldn't recommend that just because you like the car and you want to put it on Turo and drive it for free, which could be possible. But if you like it, like say you like an Audi, and you like Audis, Audis do not perform well on Turo, so you will be stuck, driving that Audi. And if you have another car, you'll be paying multiple car notes and then you'll be bleeding. So
Yeah.
definitely do your market research before you purchase the car. And you can do that on Turo. I think they have a market research to show which
Mm,
cars are performing best and per
interesting.
your market.
Basically, the answer is always Tesla.
Teslas are really good performance.
Man,
But you know, what model do you have?
I have a
If you
Model
don't mind
3.
me.
It's
Model
a
3,
Model
I
3.
do too. Model 3s perform the best on Tesla.
Yeah, even the
Yeah.
model, even better than the Model S. I
Yes,
heard
yes.
the ROI is way better for a 3 than an S.
Yeah, so even that, like, do your market research. So if you want a Tesla, narrow it down to the model. That's very important because if you get a Model Y, the Model Ys don't perform as best as the Model 3s.
Because they look weird.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah, they do look a bit weird.
Yeah,
I love my Model 3.
yeah. I can't wait to see what they come up with next. I love the car.
Have you
It reminds me of like the iPhone. It's like pretty soon everyone's gonna have one because it's just so cool. It's constantly being improved. It's sleek. It looks amazing. So yeah. What were you
Yeah,
gonna
it's
say?
like the iPhone. Have you seen the new Tesla truck they're coming out with, or have they came
The
out with that?
Cybertruck.
The
The
Cybertruck, yeah.
Cybertruck. I want a pickup truck. It's kind of weird looking to me,
It is. It's like
but
Back to the Future truck.
it's still a Tesla, so it's like it's still a Tesla, so it's kind of cool, but it definitely looks like a weird truck.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Looks very
Awesome.
weird.
So dope conversation. We have 4 questions we ask every guest every episode, and the first one is, who is somebody that you look up to and why?
Somebody that I look up to is my dad. And the reason why I look up to him is because he is very smart, he's very kind, and he has a strong work ethic. And that is where I got my work ethic from. My dad now has like 3 jobs, you know, and he makes a lot of money with his main job, but he just has a very strong work ethic, and he has a positive outlook on everything.
Yeah,
And he's my biggest role model.
that's cool. What is your favorite business or real estate book?
Um, my favorite business or real estate book. I would say, honestly, I haven't. I would say Rich Dad Poor Dad is my favorite real estate book, but I read a lot of books based off of just mindset, like
Mhm.
Think and Grow Rich, Atomic Habits, because I believe you have to have a really good mindset before you can even invest in real estate or do anything. And I hired mentors. So I would say Rich Dad Poor Dad would be uh, my best real estate book, but
Oh.
Atomic Habits is my best mindset book.
What's your favorite podcast right now?
My favorite podcast, I would say it's Ronnie Brown. I don't know the name of the podcast, but Ronnie Brown is very big on mindset, and I'm big on mindset. So she speaks a lot on mindset, habits, and building your brand. And I really like her podcast because I haven't built my brand through the 10 years. So
Yeah, so that's where you are now, is building the brand out.
yes,
You built
that's
the
where I'm at.
business, now you got to build the brand.
Yeah, you got to build the brand because I want to help more people and get
Yeah.
into real estate and actually buy houses because a lot of people are scared of them.
Hmm. Well, the reels you've been putting out are helpful. That definitely helps you get that out. What does wealth mean to you?
Wealth to me means, um, I would say it means being financially secure and being able to pass on assets and having generational wealth to pass on to your family. To me, that's what wealth is,
Oh.
and being happy,
And the last question is, what sets apart successful entrepreneurs from those who give up, fail, or never get started?
being consistent.
I like it. All right. So, dope episode. We'll definitely have all her information in the show notes. But where can people find you, follow you, or support what you have going on?
They can follow me at Ashley Buys Houses on Instagram and Ashley Black on Facebook.
Dope. All right. So I don't know what episode number this is. That's why I never really date them, because I might get them wrong. But it feels good to be back on Zoom. We're going to get some more of these. I think we had a really good conversation. You guys are going to get a ton of value out of it. So, yeah, make sure you guys reach out to her, follow her, say what's up in the DMs. People like that stuff. They like to know that what they said had an impact on your life. So, if you got something that helped you in any way, make sure you reach out, tell her thanks, all that good stuff. We will have all the information for all of our products and courses inside of the show notes as always. And this is another episode of the Oglesby and Scott Show, or the Millionaire Talk Show, or the Todd Capital Millionaire Podcast, whatever we decide to name this podcast next. But we are out.